So, welcome to Fashionomics. So good to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for an invitation.
So today we're going to talk about sustainable fashion. And I'm going to start with you, Annika. This is Hybrid Talks.
That's right.
Yeah. So what is Hybrid Talks?
Hybrid talks are, in a nutshell, micro talks that are cross-pollinated from a variety of areas. And I noticed that there were a huge number of industries that were behind clothing production, what I would call unsexy industries. So we're talking chemical, we're talking transport, we're talking all these industries. And they're all working towards a particular product, but they don't really talk to each other. And it's not just these areas, but it's other stakeholders like the nonprofits, the government, the policy, these are all intermingled. But if you go to a university, for example, you'll notice that a lot of researchers, they don't even talk to each other. So the whole point of hybrid talks is to present cases that are going from science fiction to science fact to science fabulous using fashion and design.
So what do you hope to achieve with the platform?
I think this evening we saw a number of different guests, people from ethical advisors, investment advisors, over to designers, to scientists. I want this crowd to grow, because without partnerships we really can't hope for progress, and that's what I hope to foster.
Professor Rebecca Early, you work with sustainability in design back in London, and you're also connected to one of the world's biggest research programs on sustainable fashion called Mr. Future Fashion. And the program is actually about raw materials, new fibers, new textiles, and consumer behavior and design and recycling. Your area is design, and you're speaking about different speeds in fashion. Tell me, what is that?
Well, we've all heard about fast fashion, right? Yeah. And we may have heard about slow fashion as well. But my team and I are really keen to understand what that really means, because it doesn't take sort of very much poking around, and what you actually see is that people are consuming products that are made very, very quickly in traditional sort of manufacturing processes, and buying those garments for not very much money and not owning them for very long before they discard them. Yeah. So this is going on all the time, and this is fast fashion. But actually, quite often those materials are going to be around for an awful long time. Mm. It may have taken a long time to grow them if they're natural fibres. It may have taken years and years to create oil and polyester. So we have this problem where we're looking at fast fashion, but we're actually using slow materials. Polyester is the one that the one that hangs around an awful lot, because it's basically a plastic. So you know, if a fashion brand is bringing out something bright and colourful and shiny, and you know, and you're going to buy it that season, you may not want to wear it the next season. And so that polyester shirt could go into landfill. It might go into a second-hand shop. Eventually it will go. If it goes in landfill, that's where it lasts 200 years. Oh. And as it decomposes, as it rots, as it degrades, it'll emit toxins into the soil and gases into the air. And actually we're wasting a valuable resource.
But how can ultra-fast fashion be sustainable?
We think that there could be better materials to use for maybe a younger consumer that does want to change their identity more often than perhaps old ones like us. You know, it's true. You know, people sort of settle into a sense of style. They have the time to look after things. They have the money to buy beautiful quality maybe later on in life. And the younger generation, a lot of them, they just want to be out with their friends, looking different, feeling good, and that's where a lot of the fast fashion consumers sort of are. So if we look at them and if we look at their needs, I think we need a whole different palette of materials to feed that sector. Ones that can be maybe compostable. Actually, what about domestic recycling? Yeah. What about putting clothing into your compost heap? What about having other loops of sort of charities and collaborative consumption models? What about keeping these products going in the right places? It's all about the materials going into the right place.
Yeah. But is there also like a class perspective in this?
There is actually, because there is an emerging culture across the globe that is going to be consuming by watching YouTube videos, by being influenced from mass consumer culture. And I think we have to be aware that that income bracket is going to want cheap clothes. They're going to want to be able to consume in the way that they can see maybe the Western developed countries consuming. My team and I have really got our eye on those cultures and how it can be democratic and it can also be sustainable and it can also give us new business models, and that's the bit that I think is really exciting.
Yeah, it's really exciting. Who has the biggest influence, consumers or producers? On a sustainable
tough question. Do you want to take no? It is a difficult question. You know, from my perspective, I would always say the producer, because of the idea that if you build it, they will come. Basically, we need a better range of products on offer. I personally, as a consumer, I want to rely on the company, the label I'm going to have done the hard work, because it's my money and it's my pleasure and I'd like to buy the product. Thank you very much. If my job is to bring that back to them when it comes to recycling, I can manage that. But, you know, I do think brands have to do all the legwork in terms of, with their supply chain, of course, you know, in terms of making sure that water, chemicals, ethics, considerations are all in place. And then I think the consumer has just got to be a little bit more aware of what it is that they're part of. Yeah. I think once that happens, you actually do see a change in personal consumption habits.
Yeah. I once read that about 80% of the whole sustainability problems comes from the design phase. Is that?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. So it's about 20 years ago, actually, this report came out that said 80 to 90% of a product's impact will come from the decisions made in the design phase. Right?
Is that still valid?
Well, you know, some people are really looking at that now, because if you're a really big company, the idea of design is actually quite sort of boxed up. Yeah. And so actually, in the largest companies, it might be just up to 50% of the decisions, because then you've got the production office. Yeah. You've got all the decisions that are going to be made in Asia or wherever the manufacturing is. But I think what is true is that if you design a product really well from the outset, thinking about life cycle, thinking about use, and most importantly, thinking about its end of life, then you're going to make something that does have a lower impact.
So, Eduardo, let's talk about fashion and luxury. You are the founder of an organization called RESP. So
yes.
What is that?
So it's a responsible ecosystem sourcing platform. And actually the luxury bits came as a consequence. It wasn't really the objective to work with luxury. We set out to say, what are the opportunities that fashion has to create positive impacts? And clearly, a starting point is we need to work with materials and with processes that are still within the natural carrying capacity of nature. We're looking at creating better economic alternatives where you will be able to base those economic alternatives on more sustainable solutions.
So which are the main brands behind RESP?
In the case of RESP, our founding members includes the Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy Group, Chanel, Burberry, Giorgio Armani, Mulberry, and at the moment we've grown to an organization of 41 members. So we're slowly building up, and I think that there's quite an interest from that sector in really trying to see, you know, what is their potential contribution to a sustainable future.
But could you tell us about, is there sort of a general attitude towards sustainability among the luxury brands?
Yes, clearly. Many times people talk about excellence. So when you are going and you're really looking at spending a lot of money to get either an experience, a service, or a product, you want this to be an excellent product. And it is within the interest of luxury companies, not only in fashion, to make sure that excellence is holistic. So we don't want a product that is great in material, that is durable, that it's great quality, but has social implications or environmental implications that kind of put down that product. At the moment, we can't say that it's a consumer that is looking, as you were saying, is really not the role of the consumer. But clearly, if a consumer goes and asks and says, you know, can you tell me about how it was produced? Clearly, we want to incorporate sustainability within that term of excellence.
Yeah. But you don't see that very often, that the luxury brands communicate around sustainability. It's not that very often.
No. I think with a few exceptions, in many cases, sustainability, we're really at a starting point. Yeah. So going out and communicating on things where we really don't have the answers to is quite risky for brands of such high value. Normally, I would say that the luxury industry, and especially fashion luxury, is investing a lot on sustainability. But the clear message that we get from RESP is that we really need to do our homework. We really need to get our facts straight. And then when we are able to have results and we're able to come out with information that is scientifically sound, then we can start communicating.
So what you're saying is that a lot of the big luxury brands haven't really done their homework yet?
Well, I think they've done a lot, haven't they, really? I mean, they have been innovating, but the science just doesn't exist for them to get the accurate information to back up some of their ideas. You know, how many products get fully LCA, life cycle analysis, performed on them? I mean, there's just actually quite a lack of scientific and academic information out there to help companies make decisions that they can really rely on. Otherwise, they get accused of greenwashing, of course. Yeah. So, you know, you don't hear about it because it's actually quite dangerous to say you're doing something when another area of your business might not be at the level other people want to see.
I think that's really a problem for the whole fashion industry, actually. Isn't that why you created this name, Hybrid Talks?
Absolutely.
Everybody are hybrids. You're not fully perfect, you're not fully bad, but you're something in between, and you are able to communicate that strive to become better. And this is good, this is not that good today, but we're working on it.
We're looking at building bridges, exactly as Becky was saying, between research and science over to the fashion. And these are not groups that sort of go to the pub together and hang out. It's very fashion and it's very science-y. You know, so they're in these silos, and I think another goal for Hybrid Talks is to talk about innovation driven by sustainability, because once you talk about innovation, then the mindset changes. It becomes a little sexier depending on who you are. You think about a process rather than a project. It's very often, when are we going to be 100% sustainable? Not really in our lifetimes. I think I can hazard a guess and say that. Innovation, you would never ask that question because it's constantly moving forward. So I think that's one aspect that I'm hoping that in 10 years we're not talking about sustainability.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting because we're here talking about materials, you know, primarily about the sort of fantastic innovation and research going on. But you're right, you know, it's actually going to be about collaboration, cross-sector communication, and big systemic changes that are going to make us more sustainable. We're part of the deal. You know, you need the materials to make the products, and the brands need to carry on making products right now. But I think we're all trying to get to this other place, aren't we? This sort of innovative future where we can see people flourishing, planet flourishing, businesses providing the right kind of benefits.
Yes. And I think going back to your question, it is a journey. When we're talking about nature, when we're talking about biodiversity, these are things that change over millennium. So it's very difficult to think we're going to go today and in 3-year time, we're going to have answers of things, of processes that take hundreds, thousands of years. One of the things I believe has been a major barrier to advancing is that you reach milestone, and all of a sudden you're talking about a sustainable T-shirt. I believe there's anything such a sustainable T-shirt. Why? Because it really depends how you use it, how you dispose
in
it,
the production
and it's up to us to make it sustainable or not. It's not the product that is sustainable.
Interesting. Thank you so much for coming. Ultra fast fashion, super fast fashion, slow fashion, and hybrids. I'm so looking forward to the future of fashion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.